After 9 outrageous years, Night Court says goodbye in a special hour of smiles, hugs, and farewells.
Bye, Harry.
The final Night Court's NBC Wednesday.
You only need to scan the self-help magazines at any newsstand to see that Americans are obsessed with how we look, and we're never satisfied. We're always dieting, spending countless dollars on everything from makeup to clothing to cosmetic surgery, all to improve the way we look.
But what if the thing you most want to change about your looks is only a figment of your imagination? Your nose or your skin or your hair looks perfectly normal in reality, but what you see in the mirror looks hideous to you, and no amount of reassurance from anybody can convince you that you're wrong. It's not vanity we're talking about, but a serious mental disorder, and as you're about to see, it's all in the mind's eye. It's 7 a.m. on a work day, and Doug Terrell is about to do something he used to dread so much, the mere thought of it gave him panic attacks.
I used to wake up like at 6:30 and say, oh God, half more hour, I gotta shave at 7.
Actually, it wasn't the shaving that bothered Doug, it's where he had to look in order to shave.
Every time I look in the mirror, I got freaked out and everything. You know, if I go, oh, I feel something, oh my God, there's a bump there. Then I have to be rushing up to the mirror and say, oh, this is ugly. People go to notice it.
Doug doesn't stand in front of a mirror to shave anymore, because if he did and saw even the tiniest blemish on his skin, it could literally cause him to have a nervous breakdown. All day long, he would dwell on the blemish so obsessively that in his mind, it would grow to hideous proportions and become so distorted and disgusting to look at, he'd be mortified to be out in public.
I would cry. I've spent weekends in bed over this blemish. I go to work and I would have to go look close up to the mirror and see it. And of course, the mirror would magnify it and everything. And I would freak out and I just want to hide.
If the truth be told, most all of us feel self-conscious about some aspect of our appearance. I always had cowlicks in my hair, and growing up, I hated them. But Doug Terrell's problem is different. Doug, a 36-year-old court clerk, doesn't fret over his imperfections. He obsesses uncontrollably. And apparently, it's something that a lot of people do. Hundreds of thousands of people. Because they suffer from a surprisingly common psychological disorder that's only beginning to be recognized. It's called Body Dysmorphic Disorder, or BDD, also referred to as imagined ugliness.
These are people who look normal, who think they look monstrously, hideously ugly.
Psychiatrist Catherine Phillips has interviewed hundreds of people like Doug Terrell. She's an expert on imagined ugliness. What's the difference between normal self-consciousness and body dysmorphic disorder?
People with this disorder think about this all day long. In some cases, every single minute of every day. So it's quite different from someone who might think for 5 or 10 minutes a day, oh, I wish I looked somewhat different.
Unlike Doug Terrell, Patricia O'Neill can't stop looking in the mirror. She too is obsessed with imperfections in her skin, but has to constantly check her appearance.
Mostly when I'm driving, which is the worst place to look at yourself in a mirror in the daylight in a rearview mirror.
Is it true that at one point you took your father's razor blade to your face?
Yeah, that's true.
What were you thinking?
I was thinking I couldn't stand the way my skin looked. I mean, I didn't dig the razor blade in. I just kind of, you know, pulled it over my skin thinking I would, you know, smooth out the texture of it. I really don't know what I was thinking.
Like most people who suffer from body dysmorphic disorder, Patricia, who's 32 and single, felt too ashamed to talk about how out of control she felt. The basement studio where she works alone as a sign painter became her hideaway, and the only place where she could let out her desperate feelings.
I could cry there and no one could see me. I would be there and cry. Because I couldn't think of how to explain it to anybody. I couldn't think of where to start.
How would you describe the pain that you went through?
Desperate. Totally desperate. like I'd rather be dead. Like it would be easier for me to be dead, easier for my parents and my family. If I was ashamed.
How drastic can this disorder become?
Very drastic. People may stop working because of it. They may drop out of school. They may get stuck in their houses for years and years. They are so profoundly distressed, tormented, devastated by their concern that it may drive them to suicide.
I was totally debilitated. I thought of nothing but suicide and knew that I couldn't live looking the way I looked.
Kathy thinks her appearance is so frightening that she agreed to be interviewed only if we promised not to use her last name and keep her in shadow. She's had body dysmorphic disorder for 20 years, and for one 6-year period, hardly left her house.
I stayed upstairs in my house, and I walked from my room to my mother's bedroom over and over till I put in like at least 5 to 10 miles a day. And that was my whole day, just walking back and forth.
On the few occasions when you did go out of the house, how did you feel?
I felt like a monster, that everybody was looking at me, that cars would get into crashes when they saw me, because they'd be too busy looking at how ugly I was.
And when you looked in the mirror?
My heart would sink, and I knew I couldn't live. I'd be heartbroken.
This is Kathy's self-portrait. This is literally what she sometimes sees when she looks in the mirror.
My cheeks are really flat, like just really flattened out. My face is all different colors and all different blotches, and I just feel like I'm ugly, period.
How does Kathy look in reality? Well, this photograph at age 12 shows just how pretty she really is. It's the only photograph she has. All the others she destroyed. How do you explain something like this?
I believe that body dysmorphic disorder is probably a biologically driven illness, and that in some cases, there is no explanation other than that.
Recent studies have linked body dysmorphic disorder to a chemical messenger in the brain called serotonin that enables nerve cells to communicate to each other. Psychiatrist Eric Hollander.
And serotonin can be involved in all kinds of different aspects of anxiety or mood, or for example, the sense of harm, or the sense that something doesn't feel right or something doesn't look right, for example.
This patient told Dr. Hollander his hands don't look right. He thinks his fingers are deformed. He also thinks he's incredibly short, even though he's 5 feet 9 inches tall. As these people are obsessing about the way they look, what's happening inside the brain?
One thing that might be happening is that this serotonin system may be out of whack. It may not be functioning effectively, and that the serotonin receptors may be overly sensitive. And that may be, in a sense, transmitting a message, something doesn't look right.
Because serotonin is linked to mood disorders like depression, many patients with imagined ugliness, including the 3 we interviewed for this report, are now being treated with antidepressant drugs. They are no cure, but do seem to control the symptoms. Doug's been on Prozac and in therapy for the past year. What has the medication done for you?
Saved my life. It has saved my life. Prozac, support group, and my family. Those are 3 things that have saved me. Either that, I don't know where I'd be. I might be dead, for all I know.
What's been the hardest part of this for you?
The loss of my marriage.
You blame body dysmorphic disorder for the loss of your marriage?
Yes, I do.
Primarily.
And I don't blame my wife for leaving. It just got too much. I mean...
You were completely obsessed.
Yeah. I mean, she stuck through with me for 15 months before I was diagnosed, and it cost my marriage. I wouldn't wish this on anyone. Excuse me. This sucks.
Though the separation from his wife is still painful for Doug, he is getting better. We could see it when we went clothes shopping with him at a department store that was filled with mirrors. Now, are you avoiding mirrors as we walk right now? I mean, are you aware that there's a mirror there,
but I'm not going to go like that. And, try to look at myself. That's what the stuff is, the Prozac is taking the edge off. Before, I used to be paranoid, and I see them there, but I'm not going to go zooming into it.
But shopping isn't the easiest thing in the world for you, just because it makes you focus on the way you look.
Right, well, especially with my wife gone and everything, because she used to help me pick out the clothes and everything.
She acted as your mirror.
That's right. She acted, you know, and she was very good matching things up and everything. Now it's...
Well, that's something I'll do. I'll be your mirror.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. But when Doug found a sweater he wanted to try on, he did something that surprised me.
Now, I'm going to go over to the mirror and see how it looks.
You're going to go to the mirror?
Yeah. See, I can look in the mirror now, and I don't see anything because I'm 5, 10 feet away. I'm staring at my face right now.
5, 10 feet? You're 15, 20 feet away.
All right, 5, 15.
So from this distance, you don't have a problem. I mean, you can look at yourself and not analyze or start to obsess about the way you look.
But if I can want like right up here, I just have to start looking like that and with my head down.
You would only look down?
Yeah. I couldn't look, you know, because I'd be too focused on my face.
Will you watch this report when it airs?
No. I will not watch it.
You won't watch because you'll focus on your face and worry that there's some blemish there.
That's right. That's right. And I said, oh, my God, I see a blemish. The whole goddamn country's going to see a blemish.
Now, I know that no amount of reassurance for me is going to help, but I'm going to say it anyway. You look fine.
I want to leave it like that. If people tell me this, it gives me confidence that I'm a good-looking guy. Why go look in the mirror and make my imagination go haywire? If that's good enough from Stone Phillips, that's good enough for me. That's good enough for me.
You know, Stone, it's not just that he looks fine. By the end of your report, I realized Doug was a very likable person. He also looked nice in the sweater, but he didn't buy it.
That's right. He didn't go for it. You know, but Doug does still have a problem. He still struggles with it. In fact, we had set up a small monitor during the interview, and I invited Doug at one point to take a look to see how he looked on television, and he said no, no, and then he agreed to do it. But when he looked, as soon as he saw himself, he got visibly nervous and upset. So it's tough for him to see himself close up.
Kathy and Patricia, how are they doing?
Well, Patricia's doing very well. Kathy, the woman who appeared in Silhouette, is still struggling, however, making progress. She doesn't date. That's something she'd like to do. And she also says that the one thing she misses more than anything is going swimming, putting on a bathing suit and going swimming. So she hopes she'll be able to do that this summer.
Hope so, too. We'll be back in a moment.
Tracking New England's rabies epidemic tonight.
We all care about how we look, how attractive we are. But to some, looking in the mirror is an obsession. They're not vain. They suffer from what's called body dysmorphic disorder, or imagined ugliness. Todd was so tormented by his disease that he took a razor blade to his face to make it look better. And Doug says his obsession with his face turned his life into a living hell and destroyed his marriage. Todd, let me ask you, we're talking about something tonight that most people have never heard of. It's a disease where you become so obsessed with the way you look that you really are just destroyed by it. Now, you took a razor to your face?
Yeah, I'd taken razors at different points in my life and cut parts of my face because I felt like they didn't look the way I thought they should to other people. And before I could go out and actually, you know, be social, talk to people, have a girlfriend, get a job, I'd have to change the way my face looked. And it got so bad that I, through high school, would spend most of my time alone and avoid people at all costs and spend time looking in the mirror, of course, and buying products, any kind of product, anything I could get to put on my face, cover my face, anything I could do to try to change the way I look.
This controlled your life. This was your life.
It was my life. It was everything I mean, it didn't start out that way. It started out gradual and kind of worked its way into, you know, a major obsession.
Okay, well, let's backtrack a little bit, because right now, looking at you, you look terrific.
Thank you.
And yet you were afraid that your nose was too big, was it? What did you think was wrong with your face?
I don't know why I was obsessing over these things, but it was going through my mind the whole time. And I'd look at my nose. I didn't worry about it being too big. It wasn't like a structural problem. It was more like I always thought it was red, inflamed. I'd gone to the dermatologist. I'd been to probably 5 or 6 different dermatologists, and they told me that I had a, you know, kind of a dandruff problem. And because of it, my nose would be a little red, and I'd always worried about veins being around my nose. And I was afraid that if somebody, especially a girl, somebody from the opposite sex, would come see me, that, and I know it sounds like an absolutely ridiculous thing, but it's just everything that I mean, it was all I thought about.
Let me stop you. The point is, it's not a ridiculous thing. The point is, this is recognized as a psychiatric disorder caused by a chemical imbalance in the brain. We're going to talk about what causes it and how we treat it a little bit later. Please don't feel apologetic. I mean, this was very real to you while you were going through it.
It was. It was my whole life.
Now,
it was the way I lived.
You were also obsessive about your hair, the way your hair looked?
Yeah, I'd go through periods when it'd be really bad. And the thing about it is I realized that most people, especially girls, are worried about how their hair looked. But I would spend hours blow drying, having it straightened, having colored. I don't even know why I was doing it most of the time. I really don't know why I did it. I just know I had a mental picture of how I wanted it to look, and I would do anything. I was spending all my money, doing anything I could to try to change it, and for no real reason. You know, there was no reason.
In other words, you would look in the mirror and not see yourself the way other people saw you.
That's what, I mean, like I spoke with my mom about it. She said, look, people aren't seeing you the way you're seeing yourself. You know, they just don't see it. And when I see myself, I can't explain why, but I just don't look the way I should in order to be able to, you know, go on with a job, or, you know, I didn't even want to, it wasn't that I was lazy, I just didn't want to work because I didn't want to see people.
Okay. Let me ask you, now you spent all these thousands of dollars on these products for everything, cover-ups, camouflage, trying to change your appearance, and you finally resorted to using this razor.
Yeah.
And it was like, I don't mean to sound flippant about this, but it was like home plastic surgery in a way.
What I would do is, even though, and I do it, you know, when no one was watching me, I think my dad caught me one time, and that's when we finally realized, you know, there was definitely something wrong. And what I'd do is I'd sneak in, look into the mirror, and I'd take a razor blade and I'd cut my nose, letting the blood flow out, because I'd feel like it was kind of releasing some sort of pressure that I'd felt about the veins being there.
And you felt a relief after doing that?
I felt a big relief, but it always came back. It was, you know, I always felt the anxiety over again.
This was a gradual progression, as you said, from the age of about 15, and then did it get progressively, did you get more and more obsessive about it?
I did. At 15, I was worrying a lot about my hair and my face in high school. My dad looked at me and said, you know, well, this is what teenagers go through. And for a long time, they thought that that's all it was, you know, just a teenage thing I was going through, worrying about how I look because of girls and, you know, being social. It was when I'd spend, and most of the time I was doing it, I didn't even realize, you know, I was spending hours and hours and hours, and my mom would look at me and say, there's something not right with you. You know, you're spending way too much time worrying about things that you shouldn't.
And what did you think was happening? Did you know something was wrong?
I knew I was different. I really didn't know why. I just knew that I had to do it, so I just did it. You know, it was like it was the reason I was, you know, everything else was second priority.
Everything else was second priority. School was second priority?
Well, in high school I did okay. I did start college after high school, and I failed in everything because I couldn't even go into the school because I'd be in the car looking at my face, and I'd take pins and poke my face, and constantly worrying about, you know, my face breaking out, you know, because I felt like if there was one thing wrong with it, then I couldn't see people. And a lot of times on Friday and Saturday night when I wanted to go out, I'd stay home most Friday and Saturday nights.
Now, what about going out? I mean, you didn't go out at all. You had no life. You had no social life to speak of.
And it really, for a long time, I don't think it even bothered me because I was so obsessed that I wanted a girlfriend and I wanted a social life, but it was second priority. I didn't care. I was out on Friday night in the drugstores looking for, you know, some sort of soap, some sort of thing that was going to make me, you know, I'd read ingredients, I'd study all the ingredients real close, and I just spent a tremendous amount of time and money trying, for some reason, just to change the way I look.
This was a way of life for you.
Oh, yeah.
That's all you did. Did you finally just get to the point where you thought you were losing your mind, you were going out of your mind, you were crazy?
Yeah, I did. I mean, there was times when, I mean, it's embarrassing for a guy, but I'd cry. I'd go to my parents and I'd say, look, I can't stop. I don't know what's wrong with me. I need help. And my mom was real supportive about it. She took me to psychiatrists, and I'd been to all different psychiatrists, you know, spending a lot of money. And they'd come up with that they thought it might be an obsessive-compulsive disorder. And then I went further into it, and they found it was a body dysmorphic disorder. So I was glad to find out that there was a name to it.
That makes you feel relief right away, obviously.
Oh,
You
yeah,
know you're not alone.
Oh, I was real glad to find out that there was a name that they could put to something like that.
In fact, this is a form of obsessive-compulsive disorder.
Right,
You obsess about the way you look, and then you exhibit this compulsive behavior.
Right.
Were you looking in mirrors in any reflecting surface? I mean, were you looking, just constantly looking in?
I would look in anything that reflected all the time. We'd go out for dinner. I'd look in knives. When we'd be walking past a car, I'd look in the reflection. And most of the time, and even now, because I'm better, because I'm on medicine and I'm doing better, I have a hard time even believing that I did it. Even though I can understand, because sometimes it comes back to me, it's still there, still part of my life. But I'd look at anything that reflected.
You carried around a painter's knife, a putty knife?
Yeah, well, I work painting, so I'd always had a reflecting, you know, I'd always carry either a spatula, whatever I could find that would reflect. And then my mom had caught me and said, geez, you know, that's, you know, there's really something wrong. You know, you can't be carrying reflective things around and looking. And
We are very grateful that you're here today because this is a low-profile disease that most people have not. How many in the audience? Anybody heard of it? With applause. Yes, you've heard of it? A couple people in the audience. But it's basically, at this point, an unknown quantity.
Yeah.
Now, do you look back on those days when you are recovering now, you are on medication?
Right.
Do you look back on those days and just say, that's somebody else, that was somebody else's life?
yeah, actually I do. I can't hardly believe I wasted all those years. I wasted between, I'm 24 now, I was 15 when I started doing it, actually between 6 and 7 years, being very unsociable, missing out on a lot of things that I could have done. So yeah, you know, it makes me feel bad, but I'm grateful now that I feel better and that now I have a girlfriend and I'm able to go on with my social life.
Your girlfriend's here?
Yeah, she is.
Is this Buffy over here? Hi, it's good to see you. Stand up. Let me just ask you, were you a little reluctant to share with her that you had been through this?
I was
Yeah.
scared to death to tell her because it's a thing that nobody understands.
Well,
I don't hardly understand it.
Exactly, and it's a little, you're not quite sure, it's a little embarrassing now.
Yeah.
How did you react when you heard about it?
I understood a lot of it. My little sister has a chemical imbalance, and I understood a lot of it, and I try to encourage him, you know, that there's nothing wrong with telling that he has a problem. And I catch him a lot of times looking in the mirror, you know, and don't look in the mirror, you know, and stuff like that. You know, I tell him there's nothing wrong with saying you have a problem.
It's really nice. It's nice you're so supportive. And you've had this, as you said, in your family with your little sister. This is caused by a chemical imbalance. So you had some understanding of it. It wasn't totally alien to you.
No.
How do you think he looks?
He looks wonderful.
How do you think you look? Thank you, Buffy. Thanks for being here. I'm sorry. How do you think you look?
I have never had a real high opinion about myself, but now I think I look okay enough to be able to be seen in public. And, you know, I mean, there's points, like she said, when I do still look in the mirror, it'll always be there with me somewhat.
I was going to say, it doesn't matter how many times you hear it, you have to feel it in here. You have to feel it in your heart.
Yeah, and now I have a lot more peace with myself, I guess you could say, than I used to. You know, it's a lot better now, and she's been real supportive, so.
Wonderful, Buffy. Okay. We're going to take a break, but we want to tell you that body dysmorphic disorder affects over 4 million Americans. And when we come back, we'll meet a man whose obsession with his face cost him his marriage, and we'll be back.
Two women in a world gone mad
There is corruption at all levels.
form a special bond.
Richard wants custody of my boys. I had 3 children once. I left them behind.
That will change their lives forever.
Whatever happens, save my children, please.
Greta Scocchi, Joan Chen, Turtle Beach, rated R. Starts Friday, May 1st at a theater near you.
You know, there are some things you just can't be sure of, like blind dates. Ugh. Or a new hairstyle? Forget it. But when I want to feel naturally fresh and clean, there's one thing I know I can trust. Massengill Douche. It's been in my family forever. Massengill vinegar and water has the natural ingredients I love for that 100% fresh, clean feeling.
Trust Massengill Douche for freshness you can be sure of.
An independent survey. On March 3rd, DataQuest Investigation surveyed 101 identical items at Lechmere and Fredder. The results? Fredder's everyday prices were lower than Lechmere on 85% of the items surveyed. Like this GE dishwasher, Fredder's price was $32 less. And this RCA TV, Fredder's price was $52 less. The conclusion? If you want Fredder prices, you've got to go to Fredder.
So, how do you want your haircut?
Light on the top, medium on the sides, block it on the back. Let me be an all-American person. Americans are entitled to have their hair cut in any manner in which they wish, each individual. Give me a good old-fashioned haircut.
We're back now talking about body dysmorphic disorder, which is something a lot of people don't know about. It's when you're so obsessed about your looks and feel you're so ugly that it absolutely controls your life. And I think you have a question.
Yes, Todd, when you took a knife to your face, didn't you think that was going to make you feel less insecure or less attractive because you were going to be cutting your nose or cutting your face, and it was going to take a long time to look better?
I understand what you're saying. It would leave some sort of a scar or something if you cut your face, obviously.
But that should tell the degree to which he was dissatisfied with his face. He felt you felt so strongly you wanted to change it that you didn't think about the consequences of what you were doing.
I really didn't think about the consequences. I just was going to change it, and I knew I had a way to do it, and I couldn't do it any other way except for to take that razor blade and cut myself.
I'd like to address your childhood, all right? As a youngster, were you the last one picked for any sporting event or any recess games that little children have? You didn't say anything about that. Would you care to make a comment on your childhood relationship in your school environment?
Okay, well, when going through high school, I never really was, a big sports fan or anything. I did, however, I don't think anybody ever really gave me a hard time, picked on me. I mean, I was never the last guy on the, baseball team to get. I don't think it was anything psychological.
Right, so you don't feel that it was your childhood that really contributed to this?
A fairly normal childhood as far as I can see.
Well, at this point, let me turn to Doug, who's next to you, because you're in recovery, as we say, for body dysmorphic disorder.
Right.
And this turned your life upside down?
Oh, it was 15 months before I was diagnosed with body dysmorphic disorder. And I knew there was something wrong with me, but I didn't know what it was. I thought I was going nuts. And the hardest part of it was with my wife, because she didn't know what to do. She tried to baby me. She tried to kick me in the ass to get going,
Right. I think that's the way it was with my mom. My mom was always behind me.
If you don't know what the problem is, you don't know how to treat it.
Yeah, that's true.
She tried so hard and everything. And like Todd said before, there was times I started crying too. And my problem was if I felt something on my face, I said, oh my God, I got a bump on my face. And
well, let's back up a little bit, because we're not. You were obsessed about the way your face looked. What did you think was the problem? How did you think you looked?
Well, they said body dysmorphic disorder is triggered off by something stressful that happens in your lifetime. In my case, it was my wife and I got married. We had this big disagreement about having children. I didn't want children. She wanted children. It was like always on the back burner. It wasn't going to go away. She told me when her best friend and my sister-in-law got pregnant, that's when she's going to get upset. When my sister-in-law got pregnant, I found her 10 minutes later, after I told her, she was trying to slit her wrist with a piece of glass. She broke a glass. She was so upset because she wanted a baby that much. And that put more stress on me because I know my wife wanted a baby, and the stress came out of my face.
Stress does make it a lot harder. I know at stressful periods in my life was the same way.
Right.
So the more, I know she wanted this baby, and I know I didn't want to have it, and the more it got more stressful and stressful.
So you started to obsess about your face?
That's right.
Okay, and what did you think was wrong with it?
I said to myself, I'm 35 years old. Why am I breaking out? I went to a dermatologist like Todd. They said that you have adult acne, and I'm asking, hey, you're the doctor. Tell me why I have this.
Yeah.
Well, adult acne is a very common condition.
Yeah.
But in your case, you took it. I mean, you perceived that you looked so awful that you couldn't go out in daylight.
That's right. I thought it'd be. I see a lot of young ladies in the audience here, and it's like give this comparison. They have the makeup mirror, and if you flip it over one side, one size larger than the other. Well, that's like me. When I was looking in the mirror, I was blowing things out of proportion.
Yeah, that's exactly the way it was for me.
It's like having a magnifying mirror in your head all the time.
That's right. You look in the mirror and you see, the normal person would barely notice it.
Yeah.
They'd be so small.
Or they go on with their life.
Yeah.
But it's more than just having that magnifying mirror. It's also how it affected your life.
Oh, I'm obsessed. The idea. I thought people were staring at me. I withdrew. I wouldn't associate with anybody at work.
You didn't want to go to work?
No, I didn't want. I didn't want to go to work.
You had to go to work.
I was fortunate that I was working a job where nobody keeps any tabs on me per se, or I didn't have any an office manager or boss. I came and go as I pleased, And it was just tough. I lost interest in everything. I lost interest in the Celtics, big Celtics fans.
Serious, very serious.
Yeah.
You also just, I mean, did you think you were losing your mind? I understand
I knew
you
there
would...
was something wrong. You know, I knew I wasn't normal. I wasn't doing this on purpose. I knew there had to be a reason, but I didn't know the answer.
I always thought that too. I always knew there was something wrong, but I couldn't
It wasn't
explain
until I was diagnosed, like I said, OCD, bang, obsessive compulsive disorder. Then
right.
later on, they diagnosed me with body dysmorphic disorder.
Which is a subset
That's
of
right. And just
obsessive-compulsive.
like Todd said, thank God, it has a name. I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not alone. I joined a support group for OCD.
Okay, we want to point out again, people who are dissatisfied with the way they look, we all have things we'd like to change. We're not talking about that. We're not talking about going through adolescence and feeling a little bit insecure as teenagers. We are talking about a chemical imbalance, the doctors say, and we're going to talk to your doctor in a minute, that causes this absolute devastating obsession and is not healthy and is not normal.
It was going, for me, it was going really far. I mean, I wouldn't go out during the day. I'd only plan on going out with girls at night if I did go out at all.
So you'd have the cover of darkness.
So I'd be, right. And during the day, I'd just sleep.
And your marriage didn't make it through this?
No, well, no, we're separated now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And my wife's back in Cincinnati. That's where she came from. And, you know, it's tough on her. You know, sometimes I don't blame her for leaving and everything. It's just that we try to get help together and everything, and it just didn't work out. And
well, keep the hope. Maybe it'll still work out.
Yeah,
maybe it'll still work out. Who has questions in the audience? You do.
Yeah, I understand you were reluctant. I'm talking to a young single man. You were reluctant to go out with girls. Were there any male friends that you could talk to? Was there anybody at all that you could tell this?
I don't think, I really didn't tell anybody for a long time, especially guys, because I knew guys would have a harder time than girls understanding.
It must be very hard, you know, especially in this culture, to talk about something like this with anybody.
It's real hard.
I mean, I only tell like 2 or 3 people at work, my close friends, about it. If you tell anybody else, they don't know what you're going to be talking about.
People looked at me and thought I was very vain. They thought, well, man, this guy must think he's really good looking. And that was just the opposite. You know, I mean, I really thought so low of myself.
Right.
I have a question, actually, for both of you. Did the disorder ever extend to, you both seem to be in very good shape. Were you ever compulsive about working out or dieting, or was it something strictly with your face and that appearance?
Well, I remember once when I was going for physical, and I was, I'm into running. I run like 4 or 5 miles a day, 5 days a week. And I said, gee, doc, I weigh 172 pounds. I should be losing weight. He said, well, cut out this, cut out that, you know, eat oat bran this and oat bran that. And I was so obsessed with that I lost 20 pounds within 5 months.
But this generally does, it's a focus, it's a fixation on body parts. It's not so much an overall kind of fixation with how you know, what shape you're in or what you're eating. Who else has a question here? Yes, please stand up.
At what point did you decide to get help, that you said, this is crazy, this is so out of hand, I need help?
Well, for me, I think Todd already answered that before. Yeah. For me, I was seeing a psychotherapist for 15 months. And my folks were very well, actually, my mother and stepfather were very concerned because they didn't see any improvement. And they were going to therapy themselves, and their therapist says, Doug sounds like he has a form of OCD. And I said, OCD, like, you know, a light bulb came on above my head. And I went down to Mass General Hospital, and I got tested, and that's when I found out I had OCD.
But again, a lot of doctors aren't even sure what this is. Very often it's misdiagnosed. Yeah. But when we come back, we're going to take a break. We're going to meet a doctor who would never misdiagnose this because she's one of the few specialists in the country who treats body dysmorphic disorder, and we'll be back.
The GMC Safari already has the largest engine in its class and 4-wheel anti-lock brake standard. Then we added a few extras, like reclining seats, air conditioning front and rear, a great stereo, extra lighting, tinted glass, seats for 8, power mirrors, windows and locks, tilt wheel, cruise, and more. Now that it's loaded, how do we unload it? With this special limited-time smart lease. Hurry in now and see your New England GMC truck dealer.
Those are new boots.
They're killing me.
Get some Red Wings.
Don't they cost a bit much?
In the long run, Red Wings will save you money.
Says who?
Says America.
Red Wings last twice as long?
Over time, they're a better deal.
Seems like Red Wings never wear out.
You know, Red Wings are worth the money.
Buy cheap boots, your feet pay.
5,000 locations. Call 1-800-359-BOOT.
Do they deliver?
Here's what I don't get. How do you take teeny-weeny berries and make a flavor as big as mixed berry Boku? Could sorcery be involved? Are these berries thinking? Why can't we find a nice fruit salad to settle down with, and then zap, some wizard guy makes them Boku? How else do you go from here to here?
Boku fruit juice coolers from McCain. Flavored just slightly over the edge.
Hey, I was impressed when my uncle built a pot roast in a bottle, but this Boku thing, holy mackerel.
I like a variety of music. Sometimes I lean towards today's music by Gloria Estefan, Phil Collins, and Rod Stewart. Then I lean towards Motown classics by the Supremes and Marvin Gaye. And sometimes I lean towards the latest from Michael Bolton, Luther Vandross, and Mariah Carey. And I always lean towards Mix 98.5 for the music that picks me up and makes me feel good.
For more music, more variety, and a better mix, try Mix 98.5.
Back now talking about body dysmorphic disorder, and joining us right now is Dr. Fuga Nazaralu, and you're a specialist in this disease. Let me put this in perspective for people who maybe still aren't understanding this. This is not about just sort of not being happy with the way you look. This is an obsession. This is a disorder.
Right. There are many people who are not happy with the way they look. I mean, adolescents, for example, all the time feel that, you know, their hair doesn't look right, their thighs, their breasts, this and that. They may spend lots of time getting ready for a date or something. But these are people who become so obsessed that they become dysfunctional. They're under a tremendous amount of distress. They feel very unhappy with themselves.
I heard it said by one person who had suffered from this disorder and had also suffered from cancer, that they would rather go through the cancer therapy than go through this disorder, that it is so horrible and so painful. And I don't think a lot of us can relate to that kind of pain.
Yeah. Absolutely. People, first of all, when it's a physical illness, people have empathy for physical illnesses. When it comes to mental problems, nobody has any empathy. They just feel, you know, pull yourself up by the bootstraps, get your act together. People don't understand that mental problems really involve the brain. It's like any other part of the organ. You know, if you're talking about a heart disease, you're talking about the heart. If you're talking about cancer, you're talking about something physical. Well, all of these problems are also physical in the sense that it involves the brain.
Well, then let me ask you why, only as recently as 1987, was this recognized as a psychiatric disorder?
Well, it was discussed. It just was not in our diagnostic manuals, and that happens. The reason some diseases go into the diagnostic manuals, they go in and they go out. Homosexuality is in one year and out the next year and in another year. It has to do with insurance reimbursement. It has a whole host of political things.
Okay,
yeah,
but it's in now is the point.
That's right.
And this is widely known in Europe. I mean,
oh, absolutely. That's right.
We've been playing catch-up with this. We were talking about a chemical imbalance. Sort of explain what causes this.
Okay, we're still doing research. I mean, most of my work started with obsessive-compulsive disorder, as Doug and Todd have mentioned, where people are hand-washing or double-checking or hoarding and become obsessed with something or another, and then they perform a compulsion to undo their obsession or their fear. And we certainly know that obsessive-compulsive disorder at this point is caused by a serotonin, which is a neurotransmitter. It's a substance, a chemical substance in our bodies. We all have it, except that obsessive-compulsive people have an imbalance of it. So we believe that body dysmorphic disorder, which I think is a form of OCD, and by the way, not everybody thinks it's a form of OCD. I mean, they've mentioned that.
Okay, and from what I've read, that's the way it's acknowledged, but the jury's still out, is what you're saying.
No, in fact, in the diagnostic manuals, it's under somatic disorders. It's not under OCD.
Okay.
But I believe very strongly, as they've mentioned, that it's a form of OCD. And so if OCD is produced by a serotonin imbalance, we believe that body dysmorphic disorder is also a serotonin
This is not
imbalance.
something that's just all in your head, is the bottom line.
I had a hard time
Absolutely
believing
not.
it myself. When I first started taking the medicine, my mom would push me and say, make sure you take your medicine, make sure, because, you know, you need it. And I didn't believe it at first. I thought, well, you know, how can taking medicine change the way I think? And now I'm on the medicine, and I'm doing, you know, just a lot better.
Well,
So
I
it's
just want
helped.
to say, I started to take the medicine, too, when I was diagnosed with it. And I thought, just taking this medication, I said, oh, boy, I can just kick off my shoes, just wait for the medication to kick in, I'm going to be all well. But I realized there was more to it than just medication.
There's a lot of work that goes along with it.
Support groups.
Behavioral therapy.
Behavioral therapy.
Absolutely. I mean, Todd spent a whole month doing behavioral therapy. He flew up from Tennessee up to New York, where we're located, and went through a whole behavioral program of every single day, 90 minutes of behavioral treatment.
It was tough, too. I'll admit
Absolutely.
it was hard. It's funny for people in the hospital to look at me and say, I can't understand how taking away your blow dryer is going to be hard. That's the way they lived, you know. They didn't.
Right? No, I understand.
And but it was really a hard thing for me to go through.
You have a question? Yeah.
I had a question for the doctor, and essentially, what do you feel the role of a supportive spouse would be? I've known Doug for a long time, and I felt that his wife was not interested in participating in his therapy, and rather took a sort of a distance role involved. Do you think that perhaps if his wife was more supportive, that it would have been more helpful to him?
I think that the families, spouses have to be educated. And, you know, you have to treat the patient as a whole. And I very strongly believe in an integrated approach, meaning you look at biological factors, you look at psychological factors, and you educate everybody. We have supports groups open to four nights a week, to family members, spouses, friends, anybody who wants to come in to learn about the disorder so they know how to treat the patient.
I was going to say, this is really can reach severe proportions. I had read about one woman who lost her job because she was a secretary. She was always in the bathroom checking how she looked.
Right.
She became totally housebound, agoraphobic. She wouldn't go out.
Right.
Because she was, I mean, is this common within this disease?
Absolutely. If it's not treated, although the person will see waxing and waning, sometimes they'll feel better, sometimes they'll feel worse.
Yeah.
Ultimately, if they don't get proper treatment, what will happen is they will become homebound. I have many patients who are not sitting here today because they are home and they can't leave their home. They don't even see family members, some of them.
Well, I know one girl I've talked to over the phone in Connecticut. She lost her job 5 years ago, and she hasn't been back to work since.
Okay, so we're not talking, this is a very serious matter.
Very serious.
Yeah.
We're going to take another break. When we come back, we're going to get sort of a demonstration of how you try and help these folks through behavior therapy, and we'll be back. For free tickets to Night Talk with Jane Whitney, call 617-433-4352.
Sound quality is amazing. It sounds so great.
No scratches at all.
That's when music was music.
It's got everything.
Ramblin' Man. Benny and the Jets.
All on CDs.
Introducing Entertainment Weekly's Rock Archive CD collection. It's free with a paid subscription to Entertainment Weekly.
Everybody's doing a brand dance now.
These drum licks are just thundering in here.
This exclusive Rock Archive collection has 30 of the most listened to hits from the 60s to today. Remastered. Free.
What?
Do I have to pay taxes on
It's free when you subscribe to the magazine everyone's talking about, Entertainment Weekly, at a savings of almost 60% off the cover price.
Entertainment Weekly is the postmodern farmer's almanac.
It's a great magazine.
Entertainment Weekly is like a quick fix on what's out there.
It's concise, it keeps me current.
I love the pictures. Get kind of the behind-the-scenes look.
It cut to the chase. I want to talk about music and movies.
I like it because I don't have to be hip.
Entertainment Weekly's more than great reviews. It gives you the inside scoop and a behind-the-scenes look at movies, television, videos, books, and more. Call right now and get 30 issues for 4 monthly installments of only $5.99 each, or use your credit card today.
Walk like
Do you think that's really how people walk in Egypt?
Call right now, and you'll also get Entertainment Weekly's Rock Archives, 30 classic rock hits on 2 CDs or 3 audio cassettes, and it's free.
Things like this don't happen to me. Stupendous, it's outrageous.
Totally awesome.
It's inexplicable. How could you beat that?
Wishing I was Rod Stewart waking up with Maggie May.
So call and subscribe today. You'll save almost 60% on Entertainment Weekly, and you'll also get the Rock Archive set free.
Got me on my knees.
We're back talking about body dysmorphic disorder, and doctor, you're about to show us how you treat patients who have this problem.
Right. What we will do is really demonstrate what behavioral therapy is about and what Todd and I have done in the past. What Todd would have done is, for example, taken several hours to blow dry his hair so that it would look perfect. Use various products. Maybe, Todd, you could show them some of the things you would have done.
Is I'd take a blow dryer and, of course, blow dry my hair, but I think everybody that blow dries their hair, you know, gets to a point where it looks, you know, okay, it looks good, I can go out, I can be social. With me, I'd spend, my hair's curly, and I'd cut it, blow dry it, do whatever I could, have it straightened, use home permanent things, Ogilvy or whatever, to straighten it out, whatever I could do to straighten it. And so it started out, you know, maybe taking 20, 30 minutes. But as time went on, I was spending, 3 or 4 hours in the bedroom, bathroom, wherever.
Well, my point is that I just dry my hair and that'd be it. I wouldn't want to look at myself and everything, so I said, well, I did a decent job. I'm out there in 2 minutes.
I didn't want to look at myself either. I really didn't.
He didn't have a choice.
But I felt like until I could get it right, until I could make it look the way it should, I couldn't.
I don't think I had that problem getting it right. I just, you know, I don't dry my hair. I didn't have a hard time like other people getting ready for work, taking 2 or 3 hours to get the clothes or whatever.
Well, many body dysmorphic people do have a problem with looking perfect or getting, whether it's their nose or their complexion. I've had many people, for example, come in with various products. In fact, when Todd originally came to New York, he had several suitcases. Because I said to him, when he called me up and he said, I'm going to come to New York and I want to go through your behavioral program, I said, well,
it made me feel very unusual.
Bring up all your products.
All that stuff.
I said, I want to see exactly what you've been using. And many of these people go for years on end using various dermatological products or beauty products, bases on their faces. And the dermatologists, unfortunately, do prescribe all sorts of medications for them. And they used, when Todd came, he had a lot of dermatological products, gels, hairsprays, everything. And he...
more than anything, before I'd go to bed at night, I'd, like she said, I'd put gel on my face. But I couldn't sleep until I had that on my face.
Okay, well, look.
So why don't you show them, like, in a way, how you would have done, what you would have done, and then what I would do.
Okay, what I do is I just take, for instance, and blow dry, and, I mean, just keep repeating the same thing over and over. I'd wet it, blow dry it again, wet it and blow dry it again, maybe take a pair of scissors and cut.
Right.
And, and then, like I said, I'd dye it. Anything that could change it in any other way.
Okay. Or he'd use a lot of these base products and stuff. So what I would do is I would ask him, first of all, to take it off. If I came into the hospital that day and I saw that he had blow-dried his hair, which he wasn't supposed to, eventually I took away the blow-dry because he just could not control himself. So we took it away.
It was.
And
that was hard for you.
It's very hard for me. It's hard to explain to people why it would be hard for me. But for me to go through it, I'd never done it before.
It was like withdrawal for you, probably.
It was. It was just like being on drugs.
Okay.
Just like I said before, going to the drugstore, that was what I did on Friday and Saturday nights. I would go and pick out stuff for my face.
You would have him take the products off, and then...
And then he'd take the products off, and then what we would do is, and we do this with all body dysmorphics that look in the mirror. If their compulsion is mirror checking, then we would cover up the mirrors, tell them to put a towel or anything over the mirrors, and then not look. And then just mess up. Go ahead, Todd. Just the way you would have done it before. This is something he would not have been able to do before.
I really wouldn't. I'm going to let her mess it up for me.
No, I don't blame you.
Okay, we'd really mess it up.
Yeah.
And I would say to him that
I'm better now.
Don't look in the mirror. That's right. And I'd say, okay, now...
She made it real hard on me because she'd take me out and she'd pick out some good-looking girl or something that happened to be there. She'd ask, like, the nurse or something. She'd say, well, now, what do you think of this guy here? Because, he's got this problem and his hair's curly and isn't he kind of ugly? Don't you think he's kind of ugly? He's got a zit on his face. He's kind of an ugly guy, isn't he? And they, would go along and say, well, there's nothing really wrong with him.
Or he'd sit in the waiting room and, like, why don't you show the audience your profile that you hate?
Okay, I'd always...
Which you would not have done before.
It's a strange thing, but I'd always... sit on the right side. Like if I was going to sit in your audience here, I'd sit over here because I want people to see this side of me. I couldn't sit where people see this side of me. So anytime we'd go out, especially when I'd go on a date and I'd be on that side of the girls. Now this is the side that I could never face people with.
So he'd go with this hair.
That's right, yeah.
So I can do it now.
This is enormous change.
It's amazing progress.
Amazing progress because, I mean, this was a guy who just didn't leave his house.
No, I was basically helping. The only thing that kept me going was my mom. She's the one that pushed me, said, you got to do this, got to do that. You're not living a normal life.
Harry, I was worried for you I mean, it's like I can feel there's sort of a palpable tension almost. How are you feeling right now?
I'm nervous, but, you know, I'm better than I've
We're all
ever been
nervous.
before. Yeah.
We're all nervous. Okay. You had something over here?
Yes. I just would like to know if this will be an ongoing thing that you have to deal with for the rest of your life, or will it ever stop?
I think with between the behavioral therapy and the medicine, it's always going to be there. I think I'm always going to feel a little bit that way. But between, you know, me having the behavioral therapy and being on the medicine, I think I'm going to be basically better.
I just think it's like something that's going to be in remission. I'm probably going to have this like basically the rest of my life, but I'd be able to deal with it a lot better with the medication and the support group.
But you're always recovering. It's always a struggle. It's not like suddenly one day a switch is going to go off and you're going to say this isn't a problem anymore.
No, I don't think.
There is one drug FDA approved used to treat this disorder primarily, and what is it called?
Anafranil.
Okay, yes.
It almost sounds to me like I pick up a real strong frustration with Todd especially, and almost to me like a psychological problem where he had overbearing parents who could never do anything right and always trying to do it right and never could do it right.
Yeah. Well, my mom had always been, you know, tough on me as a mom. She'd made sure I did things right.
But I don't want to mislead people here, Doctor. We're not talking about blaming parents or dysfunctional family on that.
I don't think it had anything really to do with parents.
I don't want to blame parents here on this show because
many of us many of us are teased as we're growing up over the years. Many of us have overbearing, critical parents, but we don't necessarily develop body dysmorphic disorder.
I just want to make the distinction. No. Which adds to the stress, but I think I don't want to blame this on dysfunctional households, basically. That's not where this comes from. We have to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk more about body dysmorphic disorder. We'll be back.
What's all the talk about? It's the Flowbee haircutting system. Tens of thousands have been sold to satisfied customers. Why? Because it really works. The Flowbee cuts your hair from 1/2 inch to 6 inches long. Before the Flowbee, only a skilled professional could produce a good layered haircut. But now, the Flowbee ensures a perfect layered haircut with very little skill. In fact, now you can have the same exact haircut time after time, with many different styled layered haircuts to choose from. And it's fast, easy, and clean. Simply connect the Flowbee to your home canister vacuum. Set the Flowbee spacers to the desired length for the top, sides, and back. It even has tapered attachments. Now you can maintain your favorite haircuts at all time. This ingenious device lets you give yourself and family perfect haircuts every time. And don't forget, the Flowbee pays for itself in 5 to 10 haircuts. The Flowbee haircutting systems are now available at retail stores everywhere.
Two women in a world gone mad.
There is corruption at all levels.
Form a special bond.
Richard wants custody of my boys. I had 3 children once. I left them behind.
That will change their lives forever.
Whatever happens, save my children, please.
Greta Scocchi, Joan Chen, Turtle Beach, rated R.
Starts Friday, May 1st at a theater near you.
Critics are blown away by The Last Boy Scout. Roger Ebert calls it an enormous hit. His action sequences are thrilling. Bruce Willis, Damon Wayans, The Last Boy Scout. Look for it on video cassette.
Free Jack. It's been called a dazzling futuristic thriller with stunning special effects.
Someone paid to bring him back.
Emilio Estevez, Mick Jagger, Rene Russo, and Anthony Hopkins. Free Jack. Look for it on video cassette.
We're back now talking about body dysmorphic disorder, and I think you have a question.
Yes, I was wondering if you perceived other people as being ugly or things wrong with them, or just yourself?
Well, I like to answer that by saying that before I was diagnosed, I would be staring at other people's faces and everything, thinking, well, this face is worse than mine, but well, this is not funny.
Yeah.
And I try and figure out, well, they're functioning, why can't I function? I would go to the movies and look at the people on the movie screen, actors, and study their face and everything, and see if I can find anything on their face. That's how sick it got and everything.
I was doing the same thing.
But you didn't look at other people and judge other people very harshly.
No,
I'm
not saying, you know, judgmental or anything.
Your own body image was distorted.
Right.
Not your, okay.
Yeah, hi, this is for the doctor. I was wondering, is there any genetic predisposition, and if so, how could you tell if you're at risk?
We don't know. We haven't done any genetic studies with body dysmorphic disorder, but there's some evidence for genetic predisposition for obsessive-compulsive disorder.
So no, but if you're talking about something that theoretically could involve a chemical imbalance, I think it's a valid question that it might be passed down generation to generation.
Well, my mother has OCD, so...
Oh, your mother has obsessive-compulsive disorder?
Yeah, so I think it is passed on as a her.
Yeah.
First of all, I'd like to congratulate you both for just being here today. And this is directed to the doctor. Could you give us any idea through your studies the ratio between men and women that have this disorder?
You would think more women have it, but that's not true. The research at this point is 1-to-1. So that both equally are affected.
This question is for the doctor. Todd and Doug did things outwardly, like Todd cut his face with a razor and everything. Could people have this disorder and like say, oh, I'm just so bad, I'm just so ugly, I can't do anything, and just like maybe put on weight or, you know, just like have a disheveled appearance and stuff like that?
Well, yeah, they might if you're saying they're trying to cover up and withdraw from society, if that's what you're getting at.
But are we talking about the same thing if we're talking about that?
If you're just talking about gaining weight, no. If you're talking about withdrawing from society because you feel so unattractive and not going out and not being with people, I would say yes. But overweight and weight problems are a whole different issue.
I think we should make that distinction, yes.
I'd just like to know, when you cut your face, did it hurt or did you block out the pain?
It didn't bother me a bit. It bleed all the time. It never really hurt too bad.
Oh,
just amazes me. Yes, go ahead.
My question is for Doug. Did you not want to have children because you were afraid that they were going to have the same disease?
No, because I was brought up, but my father always used to yell at me. My mother would be overprotective because my father would yell at me. And I thought I couldn't handle the responsibility of having children.
His not wanting children is not connected to the onset, the beginning of this disease.
Right?
Well,
Did you say your mother had it and you sort of got it, or
well,
did you get it from her?
I don't know if I got it from her.
But she didn't have body dysmorphic disorder.
No, she didn't have body
She had a
dysmorphic.
form of obsessive-compulsive disorder, which is
what I'm saying is I think the baby issue triggered off my body dysmorphic disorder.
About 8% of the parents of OCD people have OCD themselves.
Okay.
Is this a disease or disorder that would ever cause you to be suicidal? Did it ever cause anyone to be suicidal?
You would think so, but suicide rate is relatively low in OCD.
Let me ask about how many doctors from your experience, I mean, you've already said a lot of these folks, less than 1% of people suffering from this disorder are getting any treatment.
Right.
Now, is that because they're not leaving their houses or because people are not diagnosing them properly or a combination?
I think that they're not being diagnosed properly. I don't think people really know what they have, and unfortunately the professionals don't know what they have either. And I'm just hoping that people self-diagnose and go out and say, this is what I think I have, doctor, and hopefully we'll start educating the doctors as well.
There was a point where they thought it was being diagnosed as schizophrenia because the symptoms are so bizarre.
Right. Absolutely.
Since this disorder causes the people that are afflicted with it to be obsessed by their looks, is it common for them to seek cosmetic surgery? And if they do, are the doctors aware of this so that maybe they can diagnose the person that has this and not treat them?
I had plastic surgery done, and when I went, the doctor said, there really is nothing wrong with you. I don't know what you're doing it for. And I said, well, just do it for me.
But he did it.
But he did the plastic surgery.
He did do it. He did do it because I told him that I really wanted it done.
You'd be surprised how many people have nose jobs done, ear jobs done, all kinds of plastic surgery that I have. Because
but that does not make the problem go away, obviously.
No, I mean, I'd still done it, all the time.
Okay, yes.
I had a question about the treatment. If it's a biological disorder, how does the behavioral therapy work? And what about the relationship between you and the patient? Does it have any influence on the treatment?
A lot in that question. Take the first part.
Okay, the behavioral therapy works by modifying the biochemistry. I've done studies looking at intensive behavioral therapy over 3 weeks duration where they're seen every single day, and we're able to modify with no medication their serotonin levels. Let me also say that with medication, when you take the medication away, 99% of the symptoms return. So medication is not really the true answer. If you look at 5 to 10 year follow-up studies, unless they've gone through behavioral therapy, intensive behavioral therapy, the symptoms come back.
You're saying it's got to be a double-barreled approach.
That's
from
right.
your experience,
Yeah.
which has been very successful.
Absolutely.
Okay, another break. When we come back, we'll talk about how you can really spot this disorder, what the warning signs are, and we'll be back.
Want to lower your blood pressure? Have a banana. To prevent a stroke, eat lots of potatoes. Want to know the secrets to really feeling good? Then you need to know what foods can help make you well and what foods can keep you healthy. Now leading nutritionists have put it all in one important book, The Healing Foods. I'm Joanne D'Agostino, nutritional consultant to Prevention Magazine Health Books. I'm also a registered nurse, so I know the healing foods can help dramatically improve your health and well-being. Over 450 pages, the healing foods that can help prevent over 65 illnesses and conditions from colds to cholesterol.
Call now for the Healing Foods. Try it absolutely free for 21 days. Then if you choose to keep it, we'll bill you in 3 easy installments of only $8.99. Plus, you'll get Young Skin for Life as a free gift.
Remember, you can try the healing foods free for 21 days, so call now.
Call 1-800-952-4400.
Could you help me think of something from my childhood? I can't think of anything.
Freddie, I blocked it out, too. I can do your whole act. I go see you all the time, every chance I get. I know I could stand in for you. I Do know. the whole thing. I'm not the Beastie Boys or Run DMC. I'm not Jay Leno or someone named Shaquille. I wrote that.
We got every comedian and their mother here at Comedy Central, the only all-comedy network.
Boing. I wrote that.
2 women in a world gone mad
There's corruption at all levels.
form a special bond.
Richard wants custody of my boys. I had 3 children once. I left them behind.
that will change their lives forever.
Whatever happens, save my children, please.
Greta Scocchi, Joan Chen, Turtle Beach, rated R.
Starts Friday, May 1st at a theater near you.
You have a question about body dysmorphic disorder?
Right. It seems that what they're doing is only from the neck up. It's not concerned with any other part of the body. And I wondered how that relates to the disorder.
No, most often it is from the face. But there are people who are obsessed about their abdomen or their thighs.
So it's not confined to above the neck?
No, it's not.
Okay. You had a question, sir? Thank you.
I'd just like to know if there are any symptoms or signs we should be looking for in a person, anyone we know that would let us identify that this is coming up or is a problem with them.
Right. Anyone who's obsessing for more than an hour a day, for example, someone who experiences tremendous amount of distress, anyone who is in some way or another handicapped and not able to go out. For example, if you're seeing someone not going out on a weekend, don't automatically assume it's depression or anxiety.
Yeah, there's a reason behind it.
But let's try and make a differentiation, because you're not talking about somebody whose face is, I mean, I'd stay home for, weeks if my face was broken out. No, I'm not trying to be funny about this.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to really, this is
In
a
a
subtle
normal
difference.
appearing person.
In a normal appearing person.
In a normal appearing person we're
Okay.
talking about.
Doug, you had something?
No, I forgot what it was.
Oh, okay. It'll come back to you.
I was going
Todd.
to tell you that with the plastic surgery, I went in and they told me that I didn't need it. What I had done was they took like an electromagnetic machine and they shocked parts of my nose, leaving it scabbed. So for a long time, I didn't want to go out because of the scabs. And then immediately after the scabs healed, I was doing the same thing over again. So really, it didn't help at all.
Okay, go ahead.
This is for the doctor. I wanted to know what the success rate was of your program.
It's about 75% reduction in symptoms within 4 weeks.
Whoa! We should all be so fortunate. Doug, since you've been in the support groups, which you've really found to be the most helpful, again,
yes.
you know, you lose this feeling of isolation. You're not alone. You're not crazy.
Oh, no, that's the support group. I tell you, the medication, the support group, my family support, and believe it or not, I just got a beagle, and he's been very helpful for
Dogs
me.
are the best.
Yeah.
Dogs are the best.
And they don't talk back like, no offense, ladies, like the wife you have.
See, I was just about to ask you about your social life. I mean, you're starting to look around a little bit.
I am starting to look around. I've been separated since September. I've joined dating services. I've gone out maybe 1 or 2 dates and everything. But it's hard just going through a divorce, but if I get involved with someone, how long do you go out with this person before you tell them that you have this illness or by this mother? Or are they going to understand it? I went to this nightclub once, and I told this girl a little bit about it, and she goes, oh, is it contagious? They don't understand.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to understand.
You had a question?
That's why I admire Buffy so much. Todd's girlfriend.
Maybe Buffy has a friend.
I'll have to go to Florida for it.
This is for the doctor. What about a 13-year-old boy that avoids everything in school, won't even go to the cafeteria to eat? He doesn't go out weekends. He spends a lot of time reading. And we've been having him tested, and we don't know what, they can't find anything. And it was tested as not being chemically imbalanced.
Well, it's very hard to measure chemical imbalance. I mean, we've been talking about chemical imbalance, but you really, you know, there are only certain areas or certain hospitals that will actually measure these. They're very specialized tests. It's not just a blood workup that any laboratory can do. So you really, for that particular person, I don't know what the problem is. You have to investigate whether it is because they feel uncomfortable with their appearance or whether they are afraid of contamination.
He just doesn't talk. And he's going through therapy outside of school, in school, and he still avoids everything, especially crowds.
I would say that if the right questions are asked, then he would answer them.
But it's finding a doctor to ask the right questions, which is always...
Took me a long time. I went through a lot of
his mother. They're trying to blame...
They always want to blame the parents. Thank you. Good luck. I hope it works out with whoever it is. Another break. We'll be back.
Now from Channel 5, the latest news around the clock.
Hi, everybody. I'm Mike Lynch. It was double pleasure tonight for the Bruins and the Celtics up at the Odd in Buffalo. The Bruins had a 2-2 tie. Late second period, Adam Oates gets his second game winner in as many games, and the Bruins go up 2-1 with a 3-2 win. And the Celtics get 36 from Reggie Lewis. They win over the Pacers at the Garden. Sox lose in Milwaukee. I'm Mike Lynch with news around the clock.
I was investigating a place called Donahue's Furniture. Word on the street was that they were the place to shop for furniture. I wanted to know why. Hey, sister, what's the story on this Donahue's Furniture?
All I know is they have the best prices around. Great selection, friendly service, and they even have gift certificates. I bought all my furniture there, and I'd do it again.
Easy, Toots. I'm just looking for a new desk.
Donahue's Furniture. Find us fast in the 9X Yellow Pages.
Donahue's is the best. Case closed.
The GMC Safari already has the largest engine in its class and four-wheel anti-lock brake standard. Then we added a few extras, like reclining seats, air conditioning front and rear, a great stereo, extra lighting, tinted glass, seats for 8, power mirrors, windows and locks, tilt wheel, cruise, and more. Now that it's loaded, how do we unload it? With this special limited-time smart lease. Hurry in now and see your New England GMC truck dealer.
An independent survey. On March 3rd, DataQuest Investigations surveyed 101 identical items at Lechmere and Fredder. The results? Fredder's everyday prices were lower than Lechmere on 85% of the items surveyed. Like this Sony cassette deck, Fredder's price was $22 less. And this GE refrigerator, Fredder's price was $52 less. The conclusion? If you want Fredder prices, you've got to go to Fredder.
Guests of Night Talk with Jane Whitney stay at the beautiful Bostonian Hotel in historic Faneuil Hall, Boston. Back now, you have something.
Yes, I was going to say that it's really great that you're talking about chemical disorders on television, and I believe that there are many different disorders that are caused by chemicals
that people aren't even aware of.
Still need more research. Thanks for the comment. You have something back here. You want to stand up for me?
I'd just like to say that I think it's the personality that counts, and I think you've done a really good job, both of you.
Thank you.
Doctor, before we're out of time, where should people go if they're not getting answers on this? I mean, it's hard to know what to do.
Well, first of all, there's a book called Over and Over Again, Understanding OCD, and that has prisoners of appearance and a little bit about it and the behavioral treatment and the medications and side effects. And
just keep going until you find the right doctor. Quick comment.
I think it's just great that you guys can come out to national TV and express this. It's excellent.
Lots of luck to you. Thank you, doctor. Thank our audience, you out there for watching. We'll see you back here next time. Until then, have a great day. Take care.
This is regular. This is better.